Hey guys, so hopefully you can't hear. I'm at my parents' house probably for the whole summer because most of the jobs are in Nashville. So what I was saying is hopefully you can't hear my parents conversing out in the hallway. Um, but yeah, so this week's topic is self-care, which is a little bit more relevant for me here than it is back at my apartment. Not necessarily because of anything going on right now, but just because, being back in the house you grew up in um, after living on your own in your own apartment can kind of be a mind fuck sometimes. So, self-care has been especially relevant for me lately. And one of the biggest things that I have to do is sort of when I catch myself feeling negative feelings, whatever they are, just to kind of interrogate where they're coming from because, those feelings aren't logical, but sometimes you can look at them in sort of a logical way and say, okay, this happened and it's making me feel this way. Is that the reaction that makes the most sense for me? And sometimes it's as simple as that and you can change it. Sometimes it's not. Another thing that I kind of have to do is be aware of the typical bad reactions that I have to these negative feelings. If I know, like, the specific behaviors that I'm most likely to have in reaction to these negative emotions, then I can notice them when they start to happen and I can stop them. Um, Another thing is to get some sleep. Sometimes I just, I'm overthinking things and I'm just, it's a cycle and I can't stop. So just go to sleep. And then you wake up and you feel a little better. But that, I do have to be cautious about that because I know that one of my tendencies when I'm starting to feel down or depressed is to sleep too much. I really like sleeping in general. Um, and so it's very easy for me to just sort of be like, okay, well, I don't want to deal with anything, so I'm just going to sleep. So finding that balance because sleeping is sometimes helpful to me, but it can also be hurtful. Um, Also, and I think it may not be, but I think this is something that probably is not very common for trans guys, but sometimes if I feel like I have to, just cry. Um, Crying is really like cathartic for me. I really, sometimes it's not the best reaction. Sometimes it doesn't help. Sometimes it's kind of like wallowing in self-pity, and that's not good. But sometimes it's helpful. Sometimes it's what I need to do, and then once I'm done, I feel better. I feel cleansed. So, if you don't feel like that's a bad reaction, because I know, like, I have a really strong tendency to cry when I feel most emotions strongly. Not as much with positive emotions, but any negative emotion. When I'm sad, when I'm angry, when I'm frustrated, I cry. And so just to not be ashamed if you have that impulse and figure out if maybe it is a good thing for you. Um, Another thing that I do sometimes is just buy like just a little treat, not something that costs a bunch of money, but like for me, it would be maybe go to McDonald's and get a 99-cent ice cream cone or like an iced coffee or something. I love coffee, I love caffeine. Or like maybe an energy drink or something like that. Just, I have some things like that that I don't get very often. And I sort of save it for situations like that where I'm saying, okay, I'm feeling down, and I don't, especially when I'm feeling down and I don't really know why. If I know why, I can try and fix it. But if I don't know why, then just say, okay, I'm feeling bad today. I feel like I'm feeling bad enough to justify buying myself an energy drink. And then it's not going to solve it, but it might help a little bit. It usually tends to. Um, so probably another thing that I do is I call my boyfriend. Um, Usually that can help. Um, Sometimes it can hurt because Like, for example, now I'm in Nashville and he's still back in Murfreesboro. If I tried to call him to cheer myself up, there would be a risk of thinking too much about, that I don't know the next time I'm going to get to hang out with him, which that would just add more fuel to the fire, and it wouldn't be very helpful. But sometimes it can help, and spending time with him definitely does help. Another thing is just thinking about the future, because I do think that I have a pretty bright future. I have my future pretty much planned out, and I think it's achievable. So sometimes just, sitting around, and it's almost like it gets better. Though I have my own separate issues with that campaign, because I think it should be more like it can get better, or it gets better if you and the people around you work to make it better. But yeah, just thinking about, all the stuff that I feel is in store for me, that I am currently doing the work to try and get to, that can make me feel a lot better, and it can put things in perspective, which I think is always good. One thing that I heard recently is, you say, okay, this thing that's upsetting me now, is it going to upset me tomorrow? Am I going to be thinking about it tomorrow? Is it still going to be affecting my life tomorrow? And if it is, okay, how about in a week, in a month, in a year? And, sometimes there are going to be things where the answer is going to be yes for every single unit of time. And then you're going to have to find some other way to care for yourself and to figure out how to be okay with that. But sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes you'll be surprised by how quickly you get to a no. Will this bother me in a week? Actually, it probably won't. So that's always good. Perspective is always good. So I guess those are just some of the things that I do to take care of myself, to recognize, bad trains of thought and stop them before they get too far. That's my biggest thing, I think. But, I mean, it's a work in progress for me, for sure. I don't always realize when, those negative feelings are coming up. I don't always realize it. I don't always stop them, and sometimes I react in ways that I shouldn't. And so, I'm not perfect. Nobody is. But I do think that those are some tactics that you can use, and that I use to moderate effectiveness. So, yeah, I'm really glad we did this topic. I think it's a really interesting topic, and I'm definitely looking forward to what everybody else has to say. So, I will see you guys next week.